Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to Office Hours. You may notice we have a slightly different setup today. Ryan and I are here in person in Las Vegas at reInvent. And so as A. Witters asked in the chat, we're in Vegas, baby. So Scott is not in Vegas. Scott is in his moderately insulated home, but doesn't need a scarf today, so that's good.
Well, yeah, because I started a fire earlier because I got up earlier to start the fire, and now the house is warmer. So
I can assure you and everyone watching at home that we did not start the fire, but in fact Scott did.
Yeah, it's always burning. I mean,
it is always burning
since the world's been turning.
Thank you for picking that up. All right, so we are. How's our connection, Scott? Do you feel like we're getting a decent signal out to you?
You're good. It's a little bit jumpy and a little bit grainy.
Yeah, we are on fabulous hotel Wi-Fi.
It's amazing.
And it's really working well. So I hope that we won't have any issues today. But in the meantime, as we wait for some questions to come in, I thought maybe it would be interesting to talk about Thanksgivings. So I'll start with yours, Scott. How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was good. It's funny because the pandemic has made people real jumpy about going anywhere or doing anything outside the home. So and so we spent months making sure everything was right. You know, everybody's vaccinated. We spread the house out, took some furniture out so that there wouldn't be too much space where everybody had to be jammed in. So we were real safe.
Sure.
We had lots of people, or not lots of. We had about 10 people come over, and it was fast. It was like everybody forgets because of the pandemic, like you've forgotten about all the fun stuff and the reason why we go to these family events. And so like, I feel like all of the crazy family stuff is really forward in people's heads. So everybody got here and it was about 4 hours and everybody was gone. It was great.
Wow.
It was so great. We had a great time though. It was tons of food and we had just lots of people and there were kids running around and dogs. It was nuts. It was just like what I wanted for Thanksgiving, but only about 8 hours shorter, which was great.
As the host, I can imagine that was refreshing.
It was. I cook, so I didn't have to cook. I cooked 3 things. I only made 3 things. I only made 1 turkey, about 17 pounds of mashed potatoes.
Nice.
And
you made a half order. That's good.
Yeah, right. And which all got inhaled immediately. I made green beans. I have apparently enamored myself with my fiance's family because of the green beans that I make.
Wow.
Ooh. They've apparently never had them. It's just fresh green beans with bacon and onions.
I was going to say it had to have bacon for sure.
Oh yeah, bacon and onions, and then salt, pepper, and you're done. And it's like ambrosia. So I'm the only one that can make them properly. But yeah, it went great.
Well, it's good to hear that your Thanksgiving went well and that there weren't any major appliance issues or anything like that. How about you, Ryan? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. Got a new refrigerator. So we didn't host Thanksgiving, but my uncle did. And so we had a pretty small Thanksgiving at my uncle's house. But the morning of Thanksgiving, we got up, we had breakfast. I got the milk out for the coffee, and the milk was warm in our fridge. And so our fridge went out at some point, which, fridges take a long time for the food to get warm. So I don't know how long we've been eating, right?
Yeah.
Months.
At least.
Now, I was bringing a turkey to my uncle's house to deep fry. Thankfully, that turkey was in another refrigerator that we have, but we ended up throwing away a ton of other food. So that sucked. The only nice thing was I got a really great Black Friday deal on a new refrigerator.
An Alexa fridge?
No. No. I was vetoed no on that.
That's right.
And our boss said I couldn't expense it.
No,
I thought for sure that I could expense, like a $4,000 refrigerator.
Right.
For testing, and I could do office hours in front of it someday.
That's a whole different form factor.
I know. I need to test all my skills on it. So
yeah.
Stupid fridge, but I got a great deal on it. So
stupid fridge. You
didn't
get a smart fridge. You got a stupid fridge.
Stupid fridge. Yes.
Right, but like every other guy from the Midwest, I love the part of the story where he had a backup fridge.
Oh yeah, you have to. I have a name for it. I won't share what the name of that is. But,
Oh, ours is the drink fridge. So we have a second fridge that's exclusively dedicated to drinks, and the freezer on it is exclusively dedicated to ice cream.
That's pretty much what this is, except I have a turkey, a raw turkey, because we're going to deep fry it.
Sure.
So my family, we do 3 different turkeys: smoked turkey, deep fried turkey, and a roasted turkey. And then
you stuff one into the other.
no, no. It's not a
turkey.
Turkey. No, but my deep fried one won. It was the best tasting turkey.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I did hear a couple of pops. I live in a very small country town, and so on Thanksgiving, back from where I'm from, which is also a small country town, you usually would hear at least 1, maybe 2 big bangs. And some sirens afterwards.
Sure. The key is to dry it out. First thaw it and then dry it. So
apparently that's just not something that people know. That's year after year we hear the same story about turkeys exploding in the deep fryer, and nobody seems to learn.
Right. So safety warning for everyone. You don't put the frozen turkey in the boiling oil.
No. That's an explosion.
You don't fill the oil all the way up to the top. There's a whole scientific process to figure that out.
All right. So with that, there are a couple questions from Fabio, and we are here to answer all of your questions. So if you guys have any questions for us about Alexa or ambient computing or what we're doing in Vegas or why everyone on this show is just so good looking, we're happy to take any of those questions. But Fabio specifically asked, are Jeff and Ryan in Las Vegas? And the answer to that is very much yes.
Yes.
In fact, let's see if I can do this. I do like this for a second.
Yeah.
And we do that. That is Vegas right out the window. It's Bellagio and a bunch of other down the street there. We were going to do it on the balcony for this stream, and we just felt like it was too bright, too backlit. It's way too sunny and warm here. So sorry for that news to anyone that may not be enjoying sunny, warm weather.
It's actually a little chilly here for my taste.
For a Phoenix guy, it's chilly. It's delightful.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's like 72. It's perfect. Yeah, it's absolutely terrible A-witters. And Fabio also asked, with us being here at reInvent in Las Vegas, does Alexa have any announcements? No, in fact, we are not having any announcements. And that was some interesting feedback that I got. I gave one of my talks last night. Some of you may have seen it if you've been to Project Voice X, or if you're going to the Voice Summit next week, you'll get to see it. But it's a talk called The Future of People. I think the title at reInvent was The Future of Ambient Computing. It's the same talk. And I'm just talking about the future and where we're headed and what we think about. And one of the things I do before a presentation is I wander around and I ask people in the audience why they picked this session to come to and what they're hoping to get out of it, whatever. And what I heard consistently from a lot of people was, there's only 3 Alexa sessions at reInvent. I'm going to all of them, which was, that's really refreshing and encouraging for someone like me. But it raised some alarm bells that generally we don't think of reInvent as a conference that developers come to. It's a lot of IT pros. It's a lot of people that are thinking about DevOps and stuff like that. But the actual developers themselves, we haven't seen a ton of them here at reInvent. And so the fact that there were people that were clamoring for Alexa content, we're really happy to see that there were a few sessions, was really refreshing to me. So I gave that talk last night. It was at 7 p.m. Pacific time. It was a late talk for me. And then I have another one on Wednesday that is called the State of Alexa. It's an annual kind of State of the Union of what Alexa has done over the past year. And so it's a summary of all of the announcements, the devices, all of the things in a 1-hour session. And so if you guys aren't here at reInvent, you can actually sign up for a free virtual account and you can watch all of the sessions available on the website. So if you guys haven't done that already and you want to see maybe the State of the Union or maybe this Future of People one that I've done, both of those are available as virtual sessions. They are recordings from my home that I made like 2 weeks ago.
But not your studio.
Not in my studio. I wasn't allowed to use my studio or my camera. I had to use an iPod as my camera, which was surprising to me. But anyway, so that's why we're here in Vegas. We're not here to make any announcements, but we are here to talk about what's going on with Alexa. And it's nice to have this content on the reInvent website for folks to be able to tune in and see. So that's why we're here in Vegas.
And they should be on YouTube at some point in the future as well.
I would imagine
right?
that they will be. Yeah. I think Reinvent has a channel there, and so they'll have the content there.
But I think maybe some of the feedback is we might need more sessions next year.
Yeah.
Maybe like another speaker.
Maybe another speaker.
Speak
So
without speaking.
you guys may think, well, Jeff, you said you're giving 2 talks. What talks are Ryan giving? And the answer is no talks. We were told that we needed a backup speaker, and so Ryan is here as my backup, I guess, in case I get hit by a bus or have food poisoning or.
We actually shouldn't be in the same location all the time.
No.
This is probably bad.
No,
You're risking all of your plans here. I mean, if you're in the same place at the same time, you could both be taken out.
It's a disaster. And we're sitting in front of an open window. There are snipers. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, the idea of a backup speaker seemed kind of silly to both of us, but I'm happy he's here. We've actually had some good meetings. We joked yesterday that we ordered some dim sum and there were some shared entrees. And Ryan goes, if we eat the same food, this is a mistake. We should be ordering separate entrees.
It's like airline pilots. We're not allowed to eat the same food.
Right. So turns out the salsa and the dumplings and everything we ate were fine. We're good. But man, we took a big risk yesterday.
I'm curious as to why assassination is always on Ryan's mind. I don't know much about Ryan's backstory, but I feel like it's something.
It's very dark.
He has a lot of enemies.
Very dark. Yeah.
Used to
That's
work
a whole
on
different
Australia.
topic we'll have to dive into later.
Actually, before getting into coding, he was actually a special agent. So
Yeah, moved here
he's on a lot of the lists.
Northern Russia, from Siberia.
Right.
So I'm hiding out as a evangelist online streaming.
Right.
Yes, that'll keep you.
New persona, new profile, everything. Trey Last says he got a new Echo Show 8 on Cyber Monday.
Ooh, nice.
That's awesome. And the 15-inch Echo is next on the list.
Nice.
Those are arriving December 9th. I don't know. Can you still pre-order them? I don't actually know. But I know the pre-orders were open for quite a while. And the Echo Show 15s are supposed to ship on December 9th, which I will not be home for, so I can't wait to get back from the Voice Summit to get that.
Well, now I have to text you and show off.
Yeah. Ryan's going to have his first. I feel like I'm missing out. Jolwork, calling back to last week, says, update on my progressive response not playing an MP3 file. He raised a ticket, and now the internal team is looking into it. Well, that is the best possible scenario. Please keep us posted, though, and I know you have access to us on Slack and other things, so if you feel like you need escalation or it's been too long, reach out, and we'll see what we can do to dig in. Let's see. Oh man, Oxygen Box says that the South Park post-COVID episode showed me the future of Alexa, and it's awesome. I have not yet seen that episode. I didn't know that it had Alexa stuff in it, but
Is there a new one?
now I have homework.
Well, now I have to watch that immediately.
It's crazy. I think it's on Paramount, like Paramount streaming service. So I'm gonna have to go check that out, or at least find a snippet around about Alexa. I haven't watched South Park in years, but that was standard watching fare when I was in college. It's hard to believe that it's still on the air.
What's weird to me is that show has been on since the very first time I saw it, which was on a VHS tape.
Oh my
god! It was the very first pilot episode that had Santa Claus fighting Jesus.
Oh yeah,
that little
their original episode. Yeah,
it was the original. Yeah, it was the thing that they made in college when they were in film school still. And I saw that in like 1997.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And it's still here. And also, like, there are a lot of people alive right now who have only ever been alive while South Park
don't start talking.
has been on TV, and The Simpsons. I mean, I remember the very first episode of The Simpsons, and it's still on. But like, there are a lot of people who
was pretty bad. I mean, I'm old enough even to remember when it was just like a short on the Tracy Ullman show.
Tracy Ullman show, yeah.
And then it was like, hey, maybe we can make this a real TV show. And it turns out it was pretty successful.
Yeah, turns out.
All right. Abuma says, I'm going to squat down here. I feel like I can't get close enough to my laptop. Habuma is presenting 4 Alexa-oriented sessions at the Progressive Web Experience in Clearwater, Florida next week. I completely missed out on this event, the Progressive Web Experience.io. I don't know about that conference, but that's super cool that you're doing 4 sessions. Habuma, if there are recordings of that stuff, I would love to see it. Maybe next week you can share that with us, and we can share that with the group, and people can tune in and see it virtually. Well, that's super cool.
Yeah, I'm marking that.
Fabio, when am I going to be doing my talk? Well, the events that are happening here at reInvent are not being broadcast. So if you want to see the state of Alexa talk that I'm doing, I am scheduled to do it at 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow afternoon. But the recording, from what I understand, is already available. And so if you go create a virtual attendee reInvent account, you probably can watch it now. Because like I said, that recording was made weeks ago. So that is, unless you're coming to Vegas, and then of course if you're going to be in Vegas, yeah, it's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific. But if you're just looking to see that talk, it should be available online. Let's see. Startup wants to know how much the Echo Show 15 was on Cyber Monday. I don't believe that the price dropped at all.
I checked. It's still $249.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if they sent pre-orders out before Black Friday and then reduced the price. They would have to honor that price for everybody that pre-ordered.
I was going to order 2, so I was just interested.
Yeah, did you order 2?
No, I only ordered 1.
Oh.
I'll have to order 2 next Black Friday when they go on sale.
I did order 2.
Did you?
Yeah, and I'm expensing 1.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to have 1 in my studio, and then I'm going to want another one like in the kitchen, like where it's designed to go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cabinets.
Right, like I want that real use case. And if it's in my kitchen, then it's not in my studio. So you got to have to. A Witter says he's never seen a full episode of The Simpsons. Goodness, there are a lot of good ones.
How do you? I could see that. You only catch snippets at a time, but
I mean, nowadays, you guys probably remember this, but like if you didn't in the 90s and the 80s, if you didn't watch Star Wars, like I wouldn't talk to you.
Sure.
Nowadays, it's like you just can't be like that anymore, right? Like, I mean, there's so much media now. There are so many things for so many different.
Right.
We're drowning in all of these movies and TV shows and all this different stuff. So like nowadays, it's like you can't tell who a person is when you ask them Star Trek or Star Wars. You know, you can't do that anymore. Like it used to be, you could know exactly who a person was going to be like if they were a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, just Star Trek versus Star Wars told me whether or not I was going to continue the conversation.
Yeah, where if we're going to keep being friends. But like nowadays, it's it's not surprising.
And there's this new nuance where you'll talk to somebody about Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. There's something that most people probably should have seen at this point, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I've never seen a Harry Potter movie," and it feels the same way that when you talk to somebody about Star Wars, 20 years ago, it's like, "You've never seen Star Wars? Who are you?"
Where have you been?
Like I said, there's more of a past now, but I feel like people take pride and want to keep their streak alive. Like, yeah, I've never seen a Harry Potter movie, and I'm never going to, right? Like they've committed that as a life choice, and that's fine. Do you? But it feels weird. Like that's the hill you're gonna die on.
Well, I've never had Mountain Dew, and I haven't wanted to share that with you because I know how much you love Mountain Dew, and I'm afraid it's gonna hit me right now.
It's not the Mountain Dew that's gonna hit you. Don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, I can totally understand that because now I've gone this long without Mountain Dew, so I might as well just keep going with it.
Right. Yeah.
I get it.
Once you have a streak alive,
Spite is powerful.
It's a badge of honor. I get it. Here's the thing: I don't actually love Mountain Dew very much, but as far as diet sodas go, it is hands down the best. Like it's not even a close second.
There's not drinking a type of soda is really good for you. Just so you know, like. Yes. The amount of soda, we're all burning our insides out. Like, so to say I never drank Mountain Dew, it's like, well, good. That's amazing. Good for you. I drank gallons of it when I was a child.
I mean, I've only got a good 4 or 5 years left, so it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, sure. I mean, right? I'm,
my body's going to fail. I may as well enjoyed it while I had it.
Yeah.
All right. Startups asked about the thing. We said 249.
And you can still order the Echo Show 15, by the way. They still have them on the website for pre-order.
Cool. So this was Trade Last and primarily Brian Tarbox. We're talking about this last week, where if they were using the emotion tag in SSML, they were getting a bunch of garbled nonsense coming out of the device. And based on a ticket they submitted, it has been fixed and is in testing per the Alexa developer support team. So I don't know if that means it's been fixed in production. It just means that they have identified the fix and are working on deploying it. I think that's what I'm reading here, Trade Last.
That was all me. I 100% am responsible for everything good, nothing bad.
Not congratulations. I don't know that you're telling the truth, but that's
no. It was Trade Last. He pushed it internally. Sorry, Scott, but
yeah,
I'm not letting you. No, Trade Last was all over it.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
For those of you that didn't catch that announcement, Trade Last joined our ranks a month ago, and so he went from awesome contributing community member to awesome contributing Amazonian. Very, very cool.
We can get him on here one week.
Yeah, we should drag him in here. Habuma says, regarding the event, it's an NFJS. That's a no fluff, just stuff event. There will be recordings, but I'll have to ask if they'll be available for those not attending. Usually they're only available to attendees. But I might have enough pull to get a link for others to ask. Having pull is good, Habuma. And if you're creating content, I would love to talk to you about how we could share that more broadly. So even if you want to redo it and just make a YouTube video or something, I would love to be able to share that more broadly. Anybody that's creating content, whether you're writing blog posts or tutorials, or just creating a sample repository that you think might be useful for people, let us know. Talk about it in the Slack, whatever. I probably should have a Slack channel just for that. Yeah. But I would love to be able to share the work that you guys are doing, because this kind of stuff, Habuma, is awesome. I mean, you've got 4 different talks. Now I want to know what the whole agenda is. And I mean, I don't think I have 4 talks right now that I could give. So that's super awesome. Congrats on that. Trey Last says his favorite celebrity sighting was Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, and Jane Goodall, the famed
that's awesome.
ape researcher, getting into a taxi in Monterey, California. That's super cool.
I was going to say, were they having lunch? Because I kind of want to be at that table.
Man,
what would those two people, those two specific humans, have to say to each other?
You always hear, like, there's always the question, at least I see this as a golfer, they're always like, what's your dream foursome? Or if you could have dinner with any one person. I don't know that Matt Groening or Jane Goodall would be either of the people I would pick in those normal scenarios. But now that I know that that's a possibility, I am incredibly intrigued by the idea of sitting down with the 2 of them for dinner.
Make a wish thing?
Yeah. I mean, without the terminal illness, but yeah, same idea. Man, that's a tough one. I'm sure Matt has an incredible number of stories, and we've seen a lot of Janes, but I think that'd be super cool. I just discovered that the Progressive Web Experience Conference, the tickets are $3,125. I think that might be more than reInvent. That's a pricey ticket. Must be a good show. I mean, if they're charging that much. Data-driven skills is here. A. Witters says, does this mean my support tickets won't get answered? I don't know what that's in reference to. But I do know that Scott has created a ban list for specific people.
Yes, so, and I've just added you to it. Yep. No.
Trey Les says we expect the changes to go into production early next week, so that is referring to the emotion tag. That's good. The early bird discounts have long expired, but there were early bird discounts, I guess, for those tickets. And I don't know. All right. We are caught up at 25 after the hour. We are caught up on questions. I wish I had like a really relatable Thanksgiving story. I don't have a very good one. I mean, it's not a bad story. I got to get it.
Did you host? Or?
I did not host. So the deal that my sister, who lives a mile away from me, and my wife have arranged is that my wife doesn't necessarily love cooking. She doesn't mind it, but she doesn't love it. It's not one of her passions. My sister loves cooking and is fantastic at it.
There you go.
But my sister hates hosting because you got to clean your house. She's got 3 kids that are all under 7, and it's a lot. And so we love hosting. We love having people over. So we're like, here, we'll host. You bring all the food, and we'll make all this stuff work. Well, my sister then realized that her youngest is 6 months old. And for a Thanksgiving kind of thing, you've got a long period of time. You need things like naps and quiet time for the kids and whatever. And bringing them to our house, well, that's not a bad thing. You just don't have all of the things like a crib and a swing and all the other stuff that you would normally have for your baby in your own home. So she not only cooked, but also hosted. And so we went over there. And it was my parents and her, my wife's parents. And it was nice. There was probably a dozen of us. I don't have a very big family. And ate a lot of good things. If you guys haven't had cornbread stuffing,
It's what I made.
that is where it's at.
Yeah, I made cornbread stuffing.
I don't know why anybody bothers with other stuffing.
Yeah, that's what I made for my Thanksgiving, was cornbread stuffing. And unfortunately, I made it out of a box this time, because I didn't have the time.
Sure.
But normally, what I would do is make the cornbread and then make the stuffing with the cornbread the day before. But
You're doing it right, Scott. I will. I'll be right over.
it's amazing.
That sounds really good. And
Although I'm looking forward to Christmas, or midwinter, as we are rebranding, because my fiance will be making something that she has made every year that we've been together now, which is called a chirpumple, which is maybe the worst name ever.
That's a 3-way pie, right?
It is a 3-layered cake, and inside each cake is a pie, and each cake is different, and each pie is complementary to the cake that is surrounding it. So like you'd have an apple pie and a spice cake, or like a pumpkin pie and a spice cake, or like a blackberry and lemon. That would be like, yeah. So she's making, it takes her 3 days to make that.
Yeah.
And I'm very much looking forward to it.
I think anytime you can put more dessert inside my dessert, I'm on board.
Right? Like I feel like it's like the greatest version of the turducken that ever existed.
Right.
She's really good at it. She's putting my hand.
The pies themselves need like an additional surprise. We need to go like 3-layer inception on this thing. And so inside the pie, like maybe there's a pocket of like
Pop Rocks,
gummy bears or Pop Rocks. Yeah.
Oh my God, gummy bears. Are you hearing this? She's leaving the room right now.
She had to leave.
Yeah, she's mysteriously had to leave at the last moment.
Hey, Mahai Diakonita on YouTube, Scott, has said, hey, is there any way that I can leave you a DM?
What's a DM?
A direct message.
What is that?
I think what he's looking for is a way he can reach out to you directly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course not, because I don't have like a publicly facing thing that I can just give you. Usually it's if you just write into the contact us page, I'll probably see you, because we've got a lot of cases in there and I'm running most of it. So, but yeah, that's the fastest way to get a hold of me. Because I don't really have any, there's no I don't have an email or a chat box. I guess maybe on Slack.
Yeah, I mean the community Slack would be fine. I've shown the contact us URL if you just want to send him I would imagine if they create a contact us request and they just say, hey, this message is for Scott.
Yeah, it'll go to me. I'll see it. I run that whole thing. So
cool. So maybe that's probably the best way then. And it's not that DMs are necessarily bad, but once, especially for you, Scott, once you open that can of worms,
the floodgate.
Yeah, the floodgates open, and then people don't observe the proper channels, and they're just like, oh, I'll just contact Scott directly. And
it's not always the fastest way to get to resolution. Scott's awesome, but he doesn't work 24/7.
Right.
So.
And going through the proper channels makes it more reliable and easier for all of you too.
Yeah.
So while Scott is awesome, I think the contact us one is probably the right way to go.
Yeah, and I don't do Twitter. Look, you know, I remember when Twitter was invented,
Sure.
and I was confused by it. What was it? You could only have 10 characters or 25 characters?
It was 140.
140.
Yeah, it was the length of a text message minus, I think, 20 for a text message at the time was a max of 160.
Yeah.
20 off for a reply username and some other metadata stuff. And
I tried to do it, and it occurred to me that in order for me to catch the tweets that the people that I was interested in were saying, I had to watch it all the time. And like I already had Facebook, and so like,
right,
why am I doing this? It's really what came into my head. Like
Agreed.
I realized that, like, you know, that sandwich is really good, Chris Pratt, but I don't need to. Why are we doing this? And now Twitter has exploded. It's like the primary channel for everything now.
Yeah, it's so funny you say this, because I gave a talk probably in like 2006, 2007. It was called 7 Steps to Shameless Self-Promotion, and it was all about ways to get noticed in your industry. And one of the things that I talked about specifically was Twitter. And Twitter for me is not an inbox. And I think what you just described there, like I have to keep up with it all the time and I have to know what's going on. I think that Twitter for me is a temporal thing. When I have time to be on Twitter, I will read the things that are relevant right now. I reply to some people. I'll certainly like if I get mentioned, right, like a notification or something, I'll reply to those. But as far as the main feed goes, I am only interested in what happens to be there right now. I'm not scrolling back to the last time I got there. It would be thousands and thousands of messages.
Yeah.
So then, from a mental perspective, I'm only interested in what's happening right now when I get on Twitter. And the benefit of Twitter versus something like Facebook is that almost all of the social networks are reciprocal. So I can't see or engage with your content until you've said, yes, it's okay for me to engage in your content. Twitter is not that way. It's asynchronous relationships where I can follow you even though you have no interest in me or what I'm doing at all. And so it gives me opportunities to pay attention to and listen to the people that I aspire to be like, or that have information that I really want to have. And that's, for me, that's the big benefit of Twitter, is that I am plugged into all of the communities that I care about, the organizations, and certainly the people that I would never otherwise be able to engage with, right? They're not going to be my Facebook friend. They're not going to add me on Snapchat. So Twitter is why that works so well, is because you can follow people that don't even know you exist, which is great.
Yeah. I tried a couple times. I'm gonna get on this Twitter thing. I don't know. And
Right.
I had an account, and I remember how they sent me an email asking me if I know how to tweet. They said, like, did you know that this is what you do with Twitter?
Yeah.
It does take that a lot of time to like groom and make sure that you're staying on top of who you want to be following and all that. I've let it lapse in the last few months. I need to pick it back up and really dig into it.
But one of the points that I made in that talk, which still sticks with me, people say this to me all the time, is that there is never a time or a situation in which you need to share the bagel you had for breakfast. If you were tweeting about the bagel you just ate, stop it. Like, that is not a thing that you should ever do on Twitter ever. There are places for that. I think it's called Instagram. But like, that's not what Twitter is for. Twitter is meant to be sharing thoughts and ideas and information and cool stuff.
It's going to be such a weird time when we look back at this in 100 years.
Right.
They're going to just look at us like, what? Why were they doing this? Yeah. What is a Twitter?
Yeah. No, Twitter is I think by far my favorite social network of all. And like, I'm active on Facebook, but Facebook is for like people I really know. And I have Snapchat, but I don't use it at all. I have Instagram.
Well, I mean, you guys can always find me on MySpace. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. What is the song that you have play when I arrive at the page?
Currently it is set. It's an Eve 6 song. So
an Eve 6 song.
Wow,
that's perfect. I was actually thinking that it was going to be the song "Hero" from the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack by Chad Kroeger.
The only good song on that entire soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought maybe that was the one. Eve 6.
Blender by Eve 6.
Haven't thought about Eve 6 in at least a decade.
You haven't, have you? Nobody has.
That's fantastic. What a great reference. Although I don't know how I pulled Chad Kroger hero out of my head.
That was impressive.
The only reason it exists in my head right now is because my family and I are watching the old Spider-Man movies in order to catch up and be ready.
That is brilliant.
Be ready for what is coming in this next Spider-Man movie.
Oh man, my buddy is so stoked for Spider-Man coming up.
I mean,
My son is. He's super. We just watched No Way Home again. Is that right? No, Far From Home. First watch Far From Home.
yeah, and the new one is No Way Home.
No Way Home. Yes. Very excited. I'm trying not to watch any of the previews for it because I'm already going to go see it. I don't need the previews, and I don't want to know anything.
I don't either. I somebody sends me a preview for anything, and I don't watch it. I don't want any information at all.
Yeah, that's probably the right way.
I know it's coming, and when it happens on my screen, that's when I will experience it.
Yeah.
Not until then.
Agreed. And then after I've seen it, I'll go dig into all what did you miss and all that.
But it's hard when you're on social media though, because tons of people are talking about what's in the trailers, and I have to just zoom right past and say I'm not going to watch that. I'm going to read that.
and that calls back to what Trey Lass is talking about. It reminded me about two more things that I love about Twitter. Trey Lass said, I gave a talk back in the early Twitter days about how it was great to search for breaking news versus Google. Twitter is the fastest way to get the latest breaking news on anything, just with a simple search. But there's one thing that really stands out to me that I value primarily because I have a decent following. And I think that the power I'm about to describe only comes when you have some people following, probably at least a few hundred. But if you ever need an opinion, there is no better thing to do than to just ask a random question of Twitter. It is amazing to me, whether you do a poll or whether you just ask a question and people reply to you, you will so quickly get yourself directly to the best product for the category that you're looking for. Or, what place you're going to visit Nashville. What do you guys recommend? I can't tell you the number of times I've done something like this and landed on some of the most amazing opportunities and experiences just because I asked a question into the ether. And my wife uses my superpower now once in a while. She's like, why don't you ask Twitter? I was like, yeah, good call. Okay. So we'll just ask random questions sometimes just to see what happens. But if you don't have anyone following you, there's no benefit to that because there's no one to see the question. But once you have a few hundred people, I think it's pretty remarkable how quickly you can get some really interesting results just by polling the internet. Fabio says, Ryan, be careful. You're in Vegas. Don't drink. If you drink, don't marry anyone. So do you have a history of marrying people?
I have had a couple alcoholic drinks, but I don't believe I've married anyone.
Ever?
Again.
Okay.
I'm already married. So
was that don't believe?
It should have been. We should have eloped, but we didn't. We went through the whole family thing. But that's a completely different story.
Right. That sounds like a longer story.
Won't get into that.
Data-driven skills says, Jeff, do you have a link for your 7 ways to promote yourself talk? No, I do not. I don't think that I ever got a recording of that talk, although I do still have the deck. So maybe I will summarize it. I'll summarize it as a bulleted list on Twitter, and we can do it that way. So I still have the deck. Again, I haven't given that talk in 14 years, so I will have to go through and remember what in the world I thought the good advice was. I know one of them was about business cards. I don't know that that's still true. Although I handed out some business cards last night. It's good to have them.
You got business cards?
I made some. Yeah, in fact, I think I have them.
Do I get business cards? I'm a developer advocate.
Look
I
at
don't
that.
have business cards.
Alexa logo and everything.
That's not. You did that yourself.
I did.
Oh, Jeff.
I did. No, I went through the permission channels. I did the right thing. But I think that's all I have left. So, and there was a time where I had 500 or something. It was a lot. Okay, we should get some new cards made. Maybe
I used to print my own. Remember, you can print your own business cards. So I used to print my own.
Yeah.
With really weird business titles.
So there is a place. I know we're getting off track here, but there is a place inside Amazon. There's some website, probably if you go to Inside and search for it, where you can order business cards and you choose the logo of your organization. In fact, I think that's what I did here, because I wouldn't have used this logo, I don't think. But you choose the logo of your organization, you enter your title and your contact information that you want shown on the card, and then they print them and ship them to you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a place inside Amazon you can get business cards if you want them.
I have old ones, but not Alexa ones.
Yeah, we should talk with the design team about getting some cool business cards.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, they're good to hand out to people. We could have there's nothing on the back of this. I could have like the Slack community, other resources. That'd be cool. Yeah, we should work on that.
I like the idea of a new job title. I'm just going to give myself a new job title and just hand it out on my business cards.
Yeah, superhero consultant. So I'm curious about this title. Does this mean that you are a consultant to superheroes, or are you a really powerful consultant?
Interesting. Good question.
Because like if you just like as your cell phone number, that's awesome.
I would be a superhero consultant. I would consult superheroes and try to like help them have a better public face and like try to like help them go and see, other certain parts of the world that might need their help. That's not necessarily just North America. It could be anywhere.
Right. I do wonder, like, do you help them choose like color schemes and stuff too? Like, like Aquaman with the orange and green, I feel like he needs new representation.
It doesn't make any sense. Orange and green? It doesn't make any sense. Why are you orange? Why is there orange? There just needs to be green and darker green. That's or blue even. I mean, blue is fine.
Right. Although you don't want to blend in the water, you probably want to be seen.
Scott, you're already like ruining your consult. Like you're not supposed to give away any of this advice for free. So.
Oh, I can give away some stuff for free. It's just little tiny bits or the free parts. It's the really important stuff that you're not hearing.
This is valuable stuff, right? Aquaman's listening in.
Like what Twitter channels to follow.
Yeah.
That's exactly a thing.
How are they channels? Do they have channels on Twitter? I don't know.
They do not have channels.
Okay, so
they live
good.
They live in hashtag land. So channels are just hashtags. So if you want to know what's going on with a specific subject, you click on a hashtag and go see what's going on there. There are also lists, so you don't have to follow people. Like I have lists of all sorts of different collections of people, and so you can just subscribe to my list, and it's like you're following all those people, except that they don't get the little incremental follower count number going up because you're not actually following them.
It's just like on data-driven skill set, a la Hancock. Yes, I would do that. That would be my job. Hancock was a very underrated movie. I thought it was very good. They should have actually let the director's cut stick. I don't know. I have a lot of opinions about movies.
Well, this is an interesting question.
Good question.
Swagly Mongly wants to know, how can I block my personal information from strangers, like calendar and contact information? Because when someone asks Alexa to read my calendar, she reads it. The same for calls or contact. It's not secure at all. I want to know more about the security in your home, because what I'm getting from this is it sounds to me like you're describing strangers having access to your data, but that means strangers have access to your device.
Could you voice train? Could it be where it only reads it for a specific person?
I don't know that specific aspect is lockdownable, if that's a word.
Yeah.
But so I want to make sure I'm understanding this, Swagly. So are you saying, when you say strangers, I assume what you mean is someone that is talking to your device that is not you.
Yeah.
Whether that is guests in your home or intruders, I'm not sure what you mean by strangers, but it feels, the strangers feels like a weird word to me, because they would have to have access to your home or your personal space or something. So I'm just curious what you mean by that. We can clarify, but I don't believe at least right now, that any of that information is concealable through like a voice profile or something like that. I don't believe so.
What if it was in like Alexa Auto? What if your windows were down and your phone was still connected and your car was still on, and yet you weren't in the car? Somebody could then read your calendar by just running up to your car real fast.
You stopped in front of the UPS store to drop off a package, and you left your car running, you left your windows open, and you ran in to drop off the package, but there's a line of 4 people. So you're just standing there waiting. So when he says strangers, he means his brother and his brother's guests.
Ooh, those sound like strangers.
His brother.
Vicious guy. Yeah, I actually, so related, my my kids haven't caught on yet, but like Alexa will say when a package is delivered, but I'm getting like tons of Christmas presents delivered. They haven't caught on to the like they're still in Santa world. But I'm waiting for them to like figure this out and make this connection. And I'm gonna have to go in and like turn this off.
Just to be clear, Santa World is where we all live.
Yeah,
we can't wait for Santa to come this winter.
Oh yeah.
We don't know who's watching, but that's lovely. So, yeah, I think that is a trick. By the way, you can turn that off.
Yes, I know.
But it is handy to know when things have been delivered. I don't know how to protect your information inside your home, and I wish that I did.
It's actually a really good.
It's really good. I'm wondering, like, if he could, like, if it's a calendar on the phone or if it's a calendar like the Alexa calendar.
Well, Alexa allows you to pair any of your calendars, like Google Calendar, Yahoo Calendar.
Right. So could you, like, I don't know. So like, what it makes me wonder is like, if I live in this house and other people who are in the house need to know what I'm doing today, like, so they want to find out what my calendar is like, then I should be able to give them an option to hear what I'm up to or decide not to. If you pair your phone with your Alexa, it'll be reading your phone's calendar. So then you could just turn the permissions off on your phone so that she doesn't read your calendar.
Mm-hmm. But then
that might be self-defeating if other people do need to know what your calendar is like, it looking like.
Yeah.
Maybe a passcode?
Yeah. The challenge with all of this, passcodes, voice profile, all of it, is I just don't know that you can today say, hey, don't give this information unless it's my voice.
Right.
There are aspects of that you can do that, but I don't believe those pieces are locked down that way. So it's going to require a little bit of research and a little bit of question asking, but I think we can dig into that. But Swaggy, I don't have an answer for you right now. It feels to me like the angle you're coming at it from is right. Of course, you would want to be able to prevent people that aren't you from doing those kinds of things. And the way that voice profiling works in like traditional skills, right? A skill that you and I would build is that I can say, hey, only the primary speaker can have access to this skill. This works really well for things like bank accounts and stuff like that. But for the first party stuff, I actually don't know if you can do that. And that's a curiosity to me.
This is a good one. Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say like yeah. I mean, what kind of phone do you have? What kind of what kind of, like, is it an Apple? Is it an Android? Do they have more? Oh, wow, that's a really good one. I'm gonna play with this for like all day. I'm gonna set my calendar up with my phone with my Alexa, and
we've got to use some exploration to figure out.
Yeah, and it's funny to me how much this job entails doing exactly that. Like we forget that Alexa's 7 years old, and so a lot of the times when developers are writing in or they're talking to us, they're expecting us to be these like experts, like super genius experts. When most of us, our jobs are like, hey, did you know that we could do this? And they're like, no, I didn't. And like we all go and do it, and it's like an hour and a half. It's it's amazing how often that happens at Alexa.
Right, and it's not just. It's not just specific to Alexa. In fact, I told this story last night on stage.
Yeah, it's AWS as well. Yeah.
There's a well-known, I don't know if it's influencer, celebrity, whatever, a guy named Hank Green. He's very popular on YouTube, also on TikTok and other stuff. And he just a few days ago tweeted about how he had discovered Scott, do you have Android or iPhone?
Android.
Okay, so on the iPhone, and there's probably a similar function on Android, when you need to move the cursor, so you're typing and then you realize you made a mistake halfway back in your sentence. On the iPhone, you can hold down the space bar, and a cursor will appear, and then you can just drag your finger anywhere on the screen, and it'll move the cursor to the plate like a mouse almost. It'll just move it to wherever you want. So you can move the cursor to the middle of a word or whatever and delete the one letter or whatever you need to do. And Hank is a well-known guy. He spends a lot of time talking about science and technology. And he didn't know about this. And so it kind of blew his mind, and he shared out some stuff. And I could not believe the number of people that also chimed in and were like, oh my God, this changes everything. And I'm like, that feature's been on the iPhone for like 6 years. It's not new. It's just no one knew about it. So it's kind of interesting as we think about this stuff, whether it's Alexa or phones or computers or whatever, there are so many things that our devices will do, and we just aren't aware of it. A great example of this, if you've ever watched someone use Excel, you're always just like, why are you doing it that way? That's so hard, right? Like there's always a better way to do something in Excel. but people know how to do it their way, so they just keep doing it.
That's Excel.
Great.
The amount of stuff you can do in Excel is staggering. Like, I had no idea. Oh, Trade Last answered our theme here. Hang on.
Trade last year the best.
Wow. Calendar. Open the Alexa app. Hit More. Calendar and email. Select accounts and choose one of the linked calendar accounts. You might be asked to confirm that is your own account. Select which. Yeah, that's cool. He already put it in the chat, so there you go.
Thanks, Trey Lass.
Well, see? That's what we get.
It was going to surprise me if I went and looked and found that this was not possible, because it feels like we have all that technology and the capabilities to lock these things down. It seems that it would be possible, but I haven't done it, so I didn't want to assume that it was possible.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. All right, we have 9 minutes left. And then I get to run to another conference call. And then maybe a nap. So I don't sleep well on the West Coast.
It's the best
It
coast.
never seems like that much of a difference, but it really is.
I actually just had a memory on Facebook, speaking of social networks, and it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I only went to Dallas, which I think is only an hour difference from where I am in Ohio. I think they're Central Time. And I was complaining about how it didn't seem like a 1 hour difference should make a big difference in my life, but I was thrown way off of my game. And that was before I traveled as much as I do now. But yeah, I think there's a good chance of a nap in my day today. We'll see. It's just nonstop here in Vegas. There's always something to do, somewhere to go. So
It's true.
you gotta sleep when you can. All right. Swayze says, yes, it only personalizes the calendar with your voice, but it does not block it if it doesn't recognize the voice.
I like to play with this.
But I
There's
think
got to be a password protection or something. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
is there like an API you can slap in there, or like something you can put in there that's got other letters, like, I don't know, SDK or KRB or NLU?
for those of you that haven't tried this, if you have a music service hooked up to your devices and you say, play my music, it will use your voice. Assuming you set this stuff up, it'll use your voice to recognize, to use your profile, to use your preferences in whatever your music app is. And if my wife, even though it's my account, if my wife says, play my music, it plays her music. It plays from her account, from her profile, even though we're on my Alexa account. So I think that's what we're hearing here, is that Swayze's finding that same experience. If I say, what's my calendar, he uses my voice to recognize that, oh, we should be showing Jeff's calendar, not the other way. But blocking it and saying, I'm sorry, you don't have access to this, that's a bigger step.
I wonder if you could write a skill.
I wish I had a better answer for this one.
I wonder if you could write a skill for this.
Well, yeah, if we go third-party skill, like an actual skill that somebody can build and publish to the store, all of that would be possible. But the problem is that Alexa has its own built-in functionality for a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And people are going to use that first. So we got to figure out a way to make that
Sure.
work properly.
Take it to my team. Noodle it around a bit.
Yeah. All right. 6 minutes. What are the other questions? What else we got?
My idea, I think, like most of the time, I just jumped into the middle of a sentence. Favorite superhero power. I got nothing. Everybody says flight. I think invisibility would be the thing to go with.
Invisibility. Have you watched any of the episodes of Alexa and Friends?
Of what?
Oh, the show Alexa and Friends. It's a broadcast I do on Thursdays.
Oh no.
No, that's quite all right. Not judging at all. I was asking the question because As part of the interview that I do, these 1-hour interviews, and one of the questions that I ask everybody at the very beginning is, if you could pick any one superpower, which would you pick? And people have picked all sorts of interesting things. Some are superpowers, some are just really cool things to have, like being able to make others feel empathy.
I think that's one.
Yeah, like that. What an amazing superpower that would be. But the question was inspired. I have a degree in psychology, and there was a scientific experiment done years ago where instead of making it an open-ended question, they asked people whether they wanted invisibility or the power of flight. Those are your only two choices. And what they found, you say flight between those two? I thought you just said invisibility.
I do. If it was the open question, sure, it would be invisibility. But if it were only those two, I would take flight.
Interesting. Okay, well, that makes me feel better about you now.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is because as a result of this study, what they found was that there was a high correlation between people that chose invisibility and people that had committed crimes in the past. Because people that choose invisibility, they are looking for opportunities to be sneaky, to get away with things, to blend in and not be noticed, which are often common aspects of someone that is prone to criminal activity. Doesn't mean you're a criminal if you choose invisibility. It just means that there's a correlation between the two.
Weird.
But I'm still
planning a bank robbery, so maybe there is a correlation.
So Scott, if it's open-ended, you choose invisibility. But if you had to pick between the two, you choose flight. That blows my mind.
It feels
I don't understand that.
It feels like flight hadn't been considered in his initial list of things that he might.
But it's open-ended. Anything.
Oh no, I mean, everybody always chooses flight, right? Because you can fly, but then at the same time, it's like you have to think about the power, the effects of the power on the human body. So like invisibility means I can just turn invisible wherever I am, and then I can, it's fine. But flight means I have to wear like a suit and goggles, and I have to like wear the right kind of clothing. You know how cold it is when you get even like 40 feet up. It's very cold and windy. It's like a whole uniform.
Yeah. Does invisibility mean though that you have no clothing on?
Well, it depends on the type of invisibility. I happen to think that it's the field effect where it just
it's a cloak
sphere around your body, like your whole body. It's around. So whatever you grab then becomes invisible, instead of the whole like Invisible Man where it's just like it's some clothes walking around. It doesn't make any sense.
The Boys.
What
was that guy's name? He had to be naked all the time. The invisible guy in the Boys.
Have you seen the show The Boys?
Yes. Oh my God.
What's his name?
I'm forgetting it too.
All I can think of is The Deep and.
While we brainstorm on that, I'll tell another story. So, as one of the guests did say that he would normally choose flight, but he spent too much time thinking about what it means to have the power of flight, and he imagines exclusively choosing the power of flight with no other superpowers to accompany it. You'd at best be able to go about 100 miles an hour before your skin starts to pull away and like the friction of the air starts to really affect you, because like you don't have super skin, you don't have a lot of, and so now you're limited by friction, so you're just like a fast car.
Translucent.
You beat me to it. Yes.
Nice work.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. Like you'd have to, if you're going to have flight and nothing else, then you have to like. I mean, I rode a motorcycle for 2 years, so like you got to wear leather clothes, cover your neck. You lose a lot of heat in the neck, and then you got your helmet, and you got a helmet at least, or goggles at the very least, maybe like a heating system. Yeah, like when you're riding from Bellevue to like Bothell, it doesn't seem that very far, but then like you're in the middle of winter when it's raining, your gloves are all wet, you can feel your bones getting cold. That's how cold it is when you're flying when you're going that fast.
Yeah. So Oxygen Box says
like more trouble than it's worth.
Oh, for sure. Oxygen Box says if you're invisible, you could sneak on the planes providing the power of flight. Which I suppose is true. It reminded me of another story. I'll leave you guys with this. There's a challenge question. I don't think I brought this up on there. Have we talked about the snail? Have we talked about this at all? I don't think we have.
No.
This is a question. You can either have $10 million or you can be fully invincible. You don't age anymore. You will never die. You can live for as long as you'd like, with one caveat. There is a snail somewhere on Earth. If he touches you, you die. And his only sole mission is to get to you. So
Well, that's easy.
you could live forever and ever.
Yeah, and keep moving.
You would have to constantly keep moving. Now, the challenges that come up with this is that its sole mission, and it lives as long as you do, is to try to get to you. And people think, well, yeah, snail's so slow, and I'll fly coast to coast every month and I'll be fine. But snails could get on a train or an airplane or whatever.
Yeah, we're assuming that the snail is sentient. Okay,
Yeah.
so the snail is out to get me specifically.
Someone did the math and figured it's actually a really good deal to take it, because snails, like, you don't have to move like one day a month and you're fine. But I don't think they factored in public transportation for snails, so
Right.
that falls apart.
True.
And
You know what they didn't factor in as well? Space travel.
space travel. Good point.
That's snail gonna get on a rocket.
You're invincible.
Yeah. You could literally, as long as if I could like fly to the moon, like if I was like on a rocket and I went to the moon and I'm invincible, then I just have to wait, because in a couple of years, Blue Origin's going to be up there anyway. So, or maybe
Yeah, but the moon,
SpaceX.
I have to imagine the moon is pretty lonely. And it's only
Yeah.
a sound. It's only a soundstage anyway. No one's been there.
But you know what doesn't? You know what's not on the moon? Snails.
That's a good point. All right. That is a fun thought exercise. Thank you guys all for tuning in for Office Hours today. Thank you, Scott, for joining us as always. We will not be in Vegas next week, but in fact, I will be at the Voice Summit in Washington, D.C. next week. So I'll have another scenic view from somewhere. And we will see you guys all next week. So bring us your questions. Find us on Slack. We'd love to chat more, and we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.